What a week! From the highs of the Cardano Summit to the lows of two of the most anticipated projects in the Cardano ecosystem announcing that they're shutting down. There's a lot going on, so let's dive in and take a look together. Welcome back to Woodland Pools. Today it's time for the weekly report. So this past weekend was the Cardano Summit, and I've got to say, I went into it with some pretty high expectations, and the Cardano Foundation absolutely knocked it out of the park. It was such a great time and an amazing opportunity to hear some really great talks and connect with people from all over the ecosystem. A lot of the conversations we had were all over the place, from sentiment of where things are moving forward to really low-level conversations about how things are being built and how things can all come together. While I was there, I was able to sit down and record some interviews with the team from Charlie 3, Paul from Cardano with Paul, and Pi from Sunday Swap. And also, for all of you that were at the conference that took a minute to stop by and say hi and say that you appreciate the channel or that, hey, I'm a delegator to the pool, I really appreciate it. It was so cool meeting so many of you in person. If you have the opportunity to go to the summit next year, I highly recommend that you do. So today, let's dig into some of the highlights of the summit, what I thought were some of the biggest and most exciting announcements, and how you can watch the full talks yourself. After that, we'll transition to the unfortunate news that came out right after the summit with everything going on with Orbis and Ardana. We'll get you fully caught up on that. And if you stick around to the very end, I promise we'll leave you with a breath of fresh air and we'll have another installment of Anthony's thoughts. Let's jump in. All right, so first things first, if you want to come and watch any of these talks yourself, you can come to summit.cardano.org, and the Cardano Foundation has already uploaded all the different talks. So definitely huge credit to them. This was so cool. I've never actually seen a conference turn around their talks and put them online this quickly. So the first big announcement is actually a carryover of what had been announced a few days before about Emurgo launching their stablecoin USDA. Check out our video and went into detail about it a few days ago. And if you want to watch their whole presentation in detail, we'll link that down below as well. And then on the topic of stablecoins, while the summit was going on, Indigo announced that their stablecoin is now live on the Cardano mainnet. I'll do a dedicated video and a walkthrough of Indigo and how you can get iUSD, but for now, if you want to check it out, come to app.indigoprotocol.io. The first evening of the summit, there was an awards ceremony giving out awards that were proposed and voted on by the community, and I wanted to call out a couple of them here. Most impactful single stake pool operator went to Smog Pool, very highly deserved, and then best wallet went to Eternal Wallet. There was a bunch of other really great ones, and you can see the full awards ceremony here, and we'll link it down below. Congratulations to everybody. There was some huge names there, and it was just so cool to see everybody getting the recognition for building out these big projects that they put so much time into. The second day of the summit, the big announcement came from Cody Labs and Djed. So Shahaf Bar-Geffen, the CEO, gave his presentation, and the first big announcement was their introduction of Djed Pay. So Djed Pay is similar to their Cody Pay that they already have, but this will give you the ability to send and receive Djed easily from their app. There's no timeline on this yet, but this is the kind of stuff that's going to make things so easy to just send Djed back and forth, and then vendors can accept this for payments. Really cool step forward. But then the big question was, okay, well, when Djed? And it was finally announced that it's going to be coming out in January. There was a typo here. January 2023. Cody Labs is expecting to launch Djed. So just in the next few months, we'll go from having 0 stable coins on Cardano to having Indigo with iUSD, ADA-USD from Emurgo, and Djed from Cody. All of those should be out by the end of Q1 2023, and then we're really going to see things taking off. There were a lot of other really cool conversations and panels and people discussing about the future of Cardano and how we can all build together. I highly recommend that you check them out. And a last thought before we move on from the Cardano Summit, I just want to say about the Cardano Foundation themselves. I know they've been getting a lot of flack lately, and people say, what do they do, or they should be doing more. I've got to say, the entire tone of how the conference was put together, from Frederick's talks that he gave at the beginning and at the end of the summit, and just everything about it had this really good feel of a nice, slow, level-headed approach of let's slowly and deliberately build things. And with all the crazy volatility we've been seeing lately, it's honestly a breath of fresh air. And I ended up unexpectedly just running into David Taylor from the Cardano Foundation, and it was really cool to hear his insights about how deliberate a lot of these things are, where from their standpoint, it's just as important to not be in the news as it is to be in the news for the right reasons. He made a really great point where, yeah, sure, the Cardano Foundation can throw our logo and all kinds of things and put it on stadiums like FTX, but it's better instead, let's build organic, long-lasting relationships. And I couldn't agree more. My confidence level in the Cardano ecosystem and the foundation is so much higher after this conference, and I can't wait till next year. Very well done, guys. absolutely killed it. And so with that, we need to transition to some much tougher news. One of the big projects that people were looking forward to was Orbis, and this is their official Twitter account. This is their pinned tweet from just a few days ago. They were doing an NFT sale, and they said, hey, you've got Halo, and we're not going anywhere. And then literally less than a week later, they sent out this tweet where they said, hey all, and there's some weird typos in here, but they said, hey, unfortunately due to constrained funding and uncertain conditions, Orbis Lab is unable to continue, and the project is coming to a halt. This was a huge shock to the ecosystem because their whole tone up until now had been, hey, things are going really great, and they were literally doing an NFT a week before, so this really caught everybody off guard. Then, almost immediately after, there was an announcement from Ardana saying a very similar thing. Due to recent developments, the project's coming to a halt. These two different projects share the same CEO, so it's not totally surprising that if one went down, the other did. But Ardana is another project that a lot of people were really excited about and were invested in, and both of these have just really left the entire community with kind of a sour feeling. Now, in terms of those Orbis NFTs, they put out an announcement just making it clear they're going to refund the NFTs, so at least that's something, but it really doesn't necessarily take the sting of the project itself going under. Literally right as I was sitting down to film this, Ryan, the CEO of Orbis and Ardana, put together a space where he was answering questions, and to his credit, he could have just gone silent. So I think it takes a certain amount of bravery to actually say, okay, let me just take whatever questions you guys have. So credit where credit is due there. But still, this is just super, super disappointing. And want to make sure that we're using the right terminology though, however. There is a difference between like a scam or a rug. A lot of people are saying that Orbis rugged. In my opinion, at least, Orbis and Ardana, they didn't rug. There was no, from what I could tell, there was no malicious intent, but both of them were just a failure of a project. The projects just failed to launch. They were mismanaged. They spent way too much money on things that they didn't need to spend money on. And then it just went down like so many small businesses that fail because they have great ideas, but it just doesn't work out. So for people stuck holding those tokens, I know it kind of seems like splitting hairs, but I think it's important that we do draw a line, a distinction between people with malicious intent who are deliberately rugging and those who tried to do things, but due to their own mistakes or mismanagement, it just didn't work out. But all of that being said, this is something that we've talked about a lot on our live streams, where especially early on when the ISPOs and everything was going live and people would talk about different ones and which ones to participate or which tokens to buy. And what I've always told people is the same thing. Make sure you deeply research a project. Make sure that it's a project you really believe in. And even then, once you get to that point, think really hard about if you want to take your hard-earned ADA and swap it out for some of these other tokens. Monad Alexander said something one time about NFTs that really stuck with me, and I think it applies here. And he said, don't think of it as buying NFTs, think of it as selling ADA. And I would say for these different tokens, think of it the same way. If you're buying a token for a certain project, don't think of it as buying that token. Think of it as you're selling your ADA and that ADA is now gone. And you need to hope that that token's gonna be worth at least that much. And you should also be ready for whatever amount of ADA you swapped out to go to absolute zero. And if you're still okay with that, then that's fine. But please make sure that you don't get caught up in the hype of all of these things. Not financial advice, but ADA is a strong asset with a strong ecosystem moving forward. Please think hard about what projects you decide to put your money into. Charles also put out a video because the C Fund was invested in Ardana, and he talked about rugs and failed projects and his thoughts on that, so we'll share that down below. And again, for everybody affected by this, I'm so sorry. There's no words that I can say. Let's all take a deep breath and then look at how we can move forward. Okay. So let's try and lighten things up, and before we get out of here, I wanted to share two things. First, just before the Summit closing party, the Clay Nation, Hosky, and Bullish Dumplings put together an event called Summit on the Side, so thank you so much for putting that together. And while we were there, they premiered this music video for Bron and Bronny, which is the official music video for Champ Medici and animated by Claymates. And in it, you remember this famous tweet about, hey, Charles saying, let's figure it out and how we can do a video together, and in it, you can see some familiar faces. It was a really cool video, a lot of fun. I really recommend you check it out. We'll link it down below. So a lot of things going on, some of them very exciting, some very disappointing, but let's just look forward on where we can all go from here. Let us know your thoughts on everything that's been happening, and for a breath of fresh air to close out, we'll leave you with Anthony's thoughts. We'll see you next week.
Yo, Cardano! What's going on, guys? Me and Wilbur are out here. I gotta rig up my Christmas lights, you know? Now that Thanksgiving has passed, my wife's like, oh, it's time. Let's get rid of all this fall stuff. That's been exciting inside the Cardano universe, though. Whether it be the summit or some drama, there's a lot going on these days. I personally am looking forward to all this stablecoin news. Now it seems like all of a sudden the stable's full and we got plenty of coins to choose from.